So let's look at that. Let's just get into an area here. Of course, we have the FSA field boundaries from 2008 yet. You can use those to help create a field. Of course, you could just select it, collect your aerial form and go, or you could select it and save it if you're in Surety Pro. But we'll look at the Smart Select tool here. So Smart Select lets you select either, for example, a FSA boundary here. It also allows you to select, if you are in Surety Pro, your borders, and you can do edits on those. You can also select like your sensitive area layer borders and change those or edit those. But let's just select one here. We'll select this one here, and we're going to edit, and we're going to include this area here, just for example. So again, if you want to zoom in closer, use the zoom tool, get you a little closer. Let's go back to drawing. Make sure you have your help on and off here. I'm going to put that on so that over here you have your drawing tools, features, with ability to click a help page, instructions, and variables of what you're doing. So what we're going to do is edit this. Now remember that you can move a vertice, but it's by clicking on it and dragging it. You can add a vertice or node by right-clicking anywhere on the map on the line. So if you right-click, it'll create a vertice. And as you see, when I right-clicked here, I meant to bring this down, but it grabbed the closest line. So what we'll do is we'll click up here, and we'll add a node there, and we'll add one here, and then we'll add one here. And so you can complete that boundary. Again, to delete a node, you left-click and hold on that node, and then you just move it over another node, and it will absorb it. And so that's the edit. Once you're done now, you could pull up a map or a form, and you'll have that new feature. Or you can, if you have a client selected, you can save this boundary to your farm field hierarchy. So that's the Smart Select and editing. Okay, now we'll look at drawing real quick. So same thing, let's turn these FSA boundaries off here. Let's draw this out. So we use the draw field feature. Let's refresh this so we get our help back. Drawing, we start new field by left clicking, and every time we click, we place a new node for a line change, line segment direction change, and we draw out our feature. Double click or click over the original point to close it. You've drawn your feature. Now you can go in and edit again, as we had with the Smart Select, to do what you need to do. And now you can either create your FSA or create your map, your form, such as aerial or aerial GPA, or save this boundary at this point. So those are ways you can create boundaries. Refresher on that. Again, if you have the drawing up, you have the help on, you can hit drawing help page, and it'll go to that, walk you through drawing, walk you through videos on drawing, things of that nature. So let's look at saving a border. So this is a Surety Pro feature. So we're going to select a client. That's the first thing you want to do. Always remember to select a client. If you draw your field, and before you select your client, go select your client, then use the previous view, and it'll zoom back to your field. One note, let's before we move on, let's talk a few notes on this options page. Especially right here, selecting and drawing fields. You may want to, if you don't have this checked, make sure you have this checked, because if you're drawing fields and you accidentally zoom or move, you'll lose your drawing, or you'll use your selection drawing if you have not have this checked. So go in, make sure this is checked on, so that no matter what you do when zooming and panning, navigating the mapping interface. What you have drawn or selected stays drawn or selected until you're ready to delete it. Once you've clicked it on, if you have to click it on, hit save, and it'll save that, cancel that, and then refresh your browser. You can do that fairly simple by just coming in, and depending on your mapping system, this is Chrome, you find a refresh button, and you can just refresh the mapping interface. That will update it and reset it. You don't have to log completely out. Okay, so we'll stick with client 1. Again, in Surety Pro, when you pick the client, the full view then is based on that client. Okay, if you want to go back to the full view of your area of interest, you would hit clear, and that would zoom back to your full view that you had set. But let's move forward here. So saving boundaries in Surety Pro, you would go in now and draw your boundary, or select or do a smart select, whatever you wish to do. We'll just do a quick draw here. Okay, now I'm going to save this boundary. I've done my editing. It will come up to this area right here, and you will see the save borders. This here, if you have not saved any borders since our update last fall, when you hit save borders, you do not have to do 2 steps now. You don't have to hit save borders then edit borders. When you hit save borders, you go right in. Of course, you can create a farm name, or pick an existing farm, or you don't need to have a farm name selected, and then you can create a name for your field and hit save, and it'll say borders are updated, and now you'll see that is part of your field list. Smart select works the same way. You'd smart select such as your, for example, FSA boundaries, do your editing, and then just hit save borders. Now you can also edit an existing border. So, and as you notice, if you're in Surety Pro, you do have the borders layer. So once you select a client, the borders layer turns on. Now you can come in and select a border and edit it. Now you can select it using the select tool, or you can use the drop down list of your fields. Come in, if you use the drop down list, it's automatically selected. Now we're going to go to edit borders, and you can change the name, you can change the farm, or you can delete. And we'll delete. Borders have been deleted, and now that border is missing. You can also import boundaries. If you have boundaries to import, we won't go through the process today, but using the file import feature, borders, you can pick shapefiles, KMLs, or you can have them zipped, and you can import those borders. If you have farm names and field names, they will automatically, if you select that attribute, it will automatically create your farm and field names. If you don't, you would have to then just import them and then go select each individual and edit them and edit a farm name. So you got some choices there. If you have more information on importing, check out our support pages, which we'll discuss later on, or give us a call or drop us an email. We'll be happy to help you out. So let's move on to layers. Let's review some of the layers again. We had talked about the FSA boundaries, of course. Those are those yellow boundaries that we see. Again, they're from spring 2008, but they're there. To turn layers off and on, remember to just uncheck them and check them to turn them off and on. Borders, again, is based on if you have a client selected, and those will display your borders for that client. Let's look at crop history here, which may be of importance. That is just the crop history based on the year you chose, and then there's a legend that describes the crops. Of course, if you have forms saved in Surety Pro, your forms will show up here. You can turn those forms off and on here. You can see those. I got pins associated with those forms here. If you got sensitive areas, you can create a sensitive layer area for your own needs or wants. You just would go in and draw a boundary. You select a field just like you would do regular boundaries, and then what you would do then is, fortunately, you have to have a client selected. Actually, it doesn't make sense, but you have to have a client selected. But what you could do then is you can mark out a feature, and then you could click sensitive areas. So if I want to make this a sensitive area here, for example, I can select it, hit sensitive area, and then you can enter what it is, and you can save that. And now that'll show up under your sensitive areas. So it might be handy in those states where you do not have a layer of to access based on sensitive crops or apiaries. So you can create your own sensitive area map. FA obstructions, those are available in Surety and Surety Pro. Okay, these are the obstructions. I have mine marked as red. You can then attribute those. Let's look at that. So any layer that's blue, you can change labeling. You can change coloring. So I have mine set to red, and I have type and I think it's above ground height. But let's look at it. So first of all, you can set to extent, or what, how far out you can zoom before it turns off and on. Symbology, I got my default color. The default color is red. You can change that. You can change the opacity. You can show pins, so when you zoom out, it'll put a pin where it's at. You can color by features. You can color by obstacle types, things of that nature if you wish. And you can also do labels. Currently, right now, we do not show the information for the feature. In the future, we will allow you to see that information, but for right now, you'd have to create labels to match it. An example, I have obstacle type and above ground height. If you want to go above mean sea level height, you could add that. Just hit update, and you can add that on or delete that. So that is the FAA obstructions, excuse me. And if you need to, so if we select that, as you notice, we don't give information on that. It's only to add your own obstructions. We're looking here near feature that you can put an X over a feature, and you'll hit FA obstructions or obstruction info, and it'll give you a listing of information. We had done that in the past. That was turned on for some reason. So that's FA obstructions. Of course, we talked about borders. Those are available through for Surety Pro and match if you have a client selected. Next, we'll look at, we'll come back to log layers. We'll import a log layer and show you how that works. But we'll move on to orthophoto. Of course, that's the background map. And of course, we got multiple years, depending on your state. We'll find out what's current. If you're interested in knowing what the date of a photo is, you just turn on photo dates, and we will show the date of the actual photo. Okay, now we'll move on. We got some of these others here that are interest. H2O, if you're looking for wetlands, that's where the wetlands are. So when you turn those on, it'll show wetlands. It's the map. Again, this is when you can edit and change colors, but to show you wetlands. We also have a wetlands form. We'll look at that form a little later on here. So you can turn those on and they will display in your FSA maps, for example. Show you where those are. If you're interested in soils, most of them, we do have the mu symbols and the soil outlines, but we also have a soils report. And of course, these are major minor roads. If you're drawing and you see red lines, and of course your line you're drawing is red, if that gets in the way here, you can just come and turn your minor roads off as you draw, and you'll be able to distinguish between your drawing boundary and your minor roads. Of course, we got counties, township names, township range sections. You can turn those on. We even have quarter sections and quarter sections to help with identifying. Again, remember these are quarter sections and quarters are not official lines. They're just to help with identification. So somebody tells you it's the southwest part of it's the southwest corner of the northeast quarter. You can quickly see that. Okay, now we're going to move up to some of the sensitive layers and field watch. So in North Dakota, we have North Dakota sensitive areas. You can turn those on. If you're in North Dakota, it will display those. You see these dots. In Minnesota, we have the Minnesota buffer map, which let's move to Minnesota so we can take a look at that. What it does is it shows you water features and then the buffer that you need to stay from that feature. The light blue lines are 16.5 feet. We got rivers 50 feet and bodies of water, I believe, are also at 50 feet. So those are in there. These are not official lines. They just represent at that time that running. But and then of course we have for those states that have it, and South Dakota and Virginia have just been added. So if you're in those two states, you can go to Field Watch and sign up. And the Drift Watch or Field Watch layer is this layer right here. And as we turn that on, it'll start to show you features in that state. So here's Minnesota, show beehives. If you want information, you can just go and do a select and then hit Drift Watch up here. And you just do edit, you wouldn't do a new one. And they'll give you the information on that feature. Certain states have other things associated with the Field Watch. So here's South Dakota's on here. Let's see, here's South Dakota. South Dakota is available in Iowa, for example. You'll see a buffer around certain features such as beehives. So if you want more information on Drift Watch and what that is, go to thefieldwatch.org and read up there and contact them. Once you have a subscribe to their feature, I'm not sure what it is, a couple $100 for an AgriData or a custom applicator. They turn it on in our system, and then you have access to it for no extra cost on our end. And of course, you can create your own sensitive layers, as you saw. Okay, so now let's look at a few other things with boundaries. Let's turn that off. That gets kind of busy. So let's go back up to our area of interest here. You can move boundaries to your controllers. We're going to look at just selecting boundaries, which you would do in Surety. So let's just look at that. So you could go in and select the boundary that we're just going to select an FSA boundary here to do that at this point. Well, let's just pick a boundary that we have in the system for now, again, if you're in Surety, you would draw out your boundary. Let's just pick this field right here. So we have this field right here. And this is a field we're going to do work on. You want to get that as a job file so that you can take it to controller. If you're working with track map, DynaNav, and AgNav, you just need shape files, which you can export also. But you'd come in, select your field, go to File, Export, Current Map, so you can export a satellite job file there. If you do the wireless transfer, if that's set up, you can do that here. Give it a name and download. For the other systems, you could just do a shape file, drawn borders, export, and you can bring those into those other systems. So that's one way you can quickly do a job file. You can also do a job file from forms, and we'll show you how to do a batch job file from the Dossier Studio. Again, those are using TrackMap, AgNav, or DynaNav. At this point, you would just go and select your boundaries and then do an export using the select tool. Now let's look at some of the forms. One thing we want to mention in the options page, again, is this part right here, printing options. Let's look at a form. Let's pick a form here real quick and take a look. So let's look at the aerial with GPA. So you see the aerial with GPA form. If you are not seeing this information over on the left, if you're not seeing this information over on the left, come up to your options page and check this printing options box. If you have build maps to PDF selected, it will build it directly to PDF and you will not see those options over on the right. If you want to print maps from a web page, that will open up a new tab or a new page and give you those options. I recommend just having this selected. So if this is selected, select this instead and save this. It's just going to work better for you. So we got the aerial with GPA. Let's bring that back up. Most of you will probably be familiar with this form. We have information. You can create your client list. If you're in Surety, you could create your owner-operator list right here. In Surety Pro, this is based off your client list also. And if you fill in the information, you can get address, phone number. We got mapped acres. You can then put in your own acreage for actual acres. If you need to, you can set up your airports. That'll give you headings and things of that nature to your fields. And of course, you can put in your products. You can create your product list. All that being said, we will be coming out with our crop production database very soon, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and that will allow you to go in and get actual product names, EPA numbers, and other attributes. It'll also give you access to the safety data sheets and the labels. That will be coming soon. That is a Surety Pro feature only. So if you want access to that, if you're in Surety, you would have to upgrade to Surety Pro. And then you'd be able to create your favorites or your most commonly used chemicals and create your database of products that you can select from. That'll be coming soon. So this is our aerial with GPA. We have the quick fill. Okay, the quick fill allows you to fill these yellow areas in. What that does is you can save it then as a feature, and what it does is it automatically fills in information for you as far as products and crop, so you can take advantage of those. If you want more information on that, just let us know. We're glad to help you out. Of course, then we also have the aerial, standard aerial form, which doesn't have your put in your water rate. And then we're looking at a new form that if you want to have it in your system, you can contact us at this point. We'll add it into your account. And this color area with GPA, well, it's color area with GPA 2. And what that allows you to do is you can put in your, you can create a database of your tank volumes. Though as you pick your products, when your rates, so on and so forth, they give you your per load volume, and it'll tell you how many loads are required based on your tank size, and then you can work with that. So that's a, and then it'll give you your total job volume and how many acres per load, things of that nature. So if you're interested in this form, please let us know, and we'll add it to your account. For those in Surety Pro, if you're using it kind of a work order management, again, we have the status. Let's edit an existing one. We have the status tool or attribute, which is outside the form, but you can set your status as accepted, complete, requested. You can add processing if you want to add processing to it, whatever, however you describe it, and you can keep track of this, and then you could color code. As you see, that's what I have here. I have individual fields color coded based on that form. Let me turn it on here. And you can see, in this case, the greens are completed, the reds are ones that have to be done. So you can use that as you can use that to help show where you have work to be done. If you want to edit that information, you can go to the symbology. In this case, I got it colored by status. You could also color by crop. You could color by client, things of that nature. But you can do that right here, and depending on what your color by is, it'll put it up. So and then you can click these and give them colors. And then those will show up on the map. You can turn off the pins, and when you refresh, those will turn off the pins. If you look at, if you don't like it, the coloring so heavy, you can change the opacity. If we move it down to 10, for example, you can see it becomes less visible. Again, you can turn the colored maps off if you don't need to see them by just turning off the layer. Okay, let's look at the aerial map, aerial GP, and how you would bring in. Let's look at log layers for those that want to bring in log layers. Let's get to the field where I do have a log layer here. So you create your form. In this case, we have the aerial with GPA form. It's been accepted. You now have completed it, and you want to load your log file in to associate with that field. There's several things. Note here, if you're using Surety, you can only bring in one log file at a time, and view it, create your maps. Then when you bring in another log file, it would replace it. So you can only have one log file at a time. In Surety Pro, you can bring in as many log files as you need, and it will store the log files in the system. Again, for Surety Pro, you can store multiple log files in the system and keep track of them, and it's by you can store them from year to year, and they will be in the system and bring up at any time. But so let's bring in a single log file in this case. So that would be under import as applied logs, and now we also bring in logs from the other, all four of these manufacturers. If you need more information on AgNav, DynaNav, or TrackMap, go to our support pages and type those in, and we'll show you how you can do that. And they'll give you a step-by-step of how to bring those log files in Again, you could only bring one of these in at a time under Surety, but you can bring in as many as you want and store them in Surety Pro. So I got a SatLock log file. Let's bring that in. Choose your crop year. Choose how it is. Is it a single log file? Is it a zip file? Is it wireless? If you're using a wireless transfer, pick your log. We'll upload that log file. Once done, it'll let you know. And let's take a look. So we'll see we got some lines here. Let's go to our layers, and you'll see under our log we have a log file. Ignore the date. Need to update my log file probably. So when you zoom in, you can delete the log file here. You can zoom to the log file. So that's if you have multiple log files listed, or you can export it or download this log file back out as a log file. We show 4 different things. We show spray path, flight path, spray swath. You can turn them on and off. Spray swath plus 10%. Okay, and then you can color code these again with symbology as you see fit. So now that you have a log file in and you want to associate it with your form, so we're going to come up area with GPA. We're going to select the field again, and we're area with GPA, and we're going to edit the one that we associate with this log file. And then so if you bring that log file in and and the date is selected, you can come in and bring this log file in for this field. And so if you pick swath, it'll automatically then show the swath up here. It'll show your date of application, your start time, end time, and your acres applied. And then if you change that to completed, and we'll save the form. And you see we have successfully saved that form. Now that log file, as long as it's in the system, be associated with that. Now in Surety, of course, you can't do this. Surety Pro, you can have multiple log files. You could have multiple log files for an individual application map. So let's also look at the job file for creating a new form. Let's take right here, this field. We're going to turn the log layer off here. So I have one completed. I'm going to create a new form here. We'll go aerial GPA. We're going to create a new aerial GPA form. You pick your crops, status if you have that or using that. Of course, put your products, so on and so forth. Now, what you can also do is you can also export your job file or associate your job file with this and then download it. So you can give it a name, and when you hit the download job file, it'll represent any borders that you have in this form. So it's another way to create a job file. We do not have the shape file export here yet, but we do have the job file export. So again, another area where you can export a job file that's available in Surety and Surety Pro. Once you've filled out basic information, you can save it, and we'll save this one just to have it. So now we'll move on to last part here. We'll work with things related to the form manager, the paradigm in Dossier Studio, and export batch jobs from Dossier Studio, and then we'll talk about a few other pieces of information. So those in Surety Pro, you've started putting forms in under different clients, different fields. Your map might start to get a little busy with just coloring, and so what is a better way of managing forms and managing jobs across clients? And that's by using the form manager. Form Manager, you access it here. It's also under File, Tools, Manage All Forms. So let's look at the Form Manager. And Form Manager will let you access all your forms across your company if you got different locations, different clients, different years, so on and so forth. So let's look at the clients I have under 2018, just the area with GPA. As you can see, I got the client name, I got the date ordered here, I have status, so on and so forth. You can choose which columns are displayed here by once you select the form. Do choose columns. You can delete a column by just clicking on the delete button next to it. You can add a column, and these are all the attributes available in the area with GPA form that you can add in. If it's a number, you can total this column. When you're done, hit save. So actually we've totaled the total acres here, for example. Now we also have other filters within it. One of them I'm using is status. You could filter by pilot, you could filter by crop, so on and so forth. So I just want to see requested. There's all my requested fields, or ones that I would like to get done. You can select them all by doing this. You can select individual. You can zoom to an individual field here, or you can zoom to all results. I'll show you all the fields. You can print selected forms here. You could delete a form here, and you can export those forms. And here's where you would probably, as a batch job for the DynaNav, TrackMap, and AgNav, since we don't have a batch job export yet in Dossier, if you want to go across clients and export boundaries, I would use this. You would select your forms, fields that you want to select based on the forms, and then you would export your shapefile, give it a name, and then you could import those boundaries into your AgNav, DynaNav, or TrackMap systems. You can order your columns ascending and descending here. Okay, so this is where you can manage these forms. You can access a form also directly from the system by just double clicking on a line. You see that they have a kind of a different yellowish color to them. If you have more than let's say we got all our forms, you can only just show selected. You turn that on while selecting, you're not going to see anything, so just turn it back off. So I'm just going to see, I just want to see client 1 fields. For example, in this case, I can select those and see those. And so Form Manager is where you're going to manage all those forms, and especially when it starts to get very busy. Again, you can manage by location, company. If you have the client selected, you will then have the client option here also, and it would just show only forms associated with that client. So that's the Form Manager. Let's look at the Paradigm and Dossier Studio to help you create a work order for a job that you want to complete. So let's go status. Let's go requested. So I have these three fields I want to work on today. I'm going to put them as the same job, for example. So I'm just going to work with these 3 here, only selected. Okay, so I got my 3 fields selected. The other one's right here. Here's one, and here's one. Now, if you select on the map, you could also select fields on your map, and it would just show you those forms here also. So you can work back and forth between the map and Form Manager. So I got these 3 fields. They're different. You see, they're even across client. They got similar products, and so I'm going to do this as a job. So the first thing we do, we're going to create the data sheets for this. Maybe you want a PDF or print out data sheets to hand off to the people who load the do the load management, things of that nature. Of course, to get your maps in the cockpit also. You can save it as PDF and bring this up on a PDA inside the cockpit. Or you can run, of course, you could run Surety and Surety Pro within the cockpit. We do have GPS capabilities. But these are the 3 fields I want to work on today. So I want to create the forms and the maps I need. So this is where you would go what we call paradigm. Now you can go in and select each one separately from the field and add the Dossier Studio. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it all automatically based on the 3 we have selected. So let's go to paradigm. So if you would like a view of the overview, you could have Form Manager View. So what Form Manager View would be this whole view that you see on the map screen. I'd create a map of that. Of course, save formed are these forms here, FSA map. So, but let's look at what we really want to do is let's just look at the save forms for now. So when I hit save forms, it's going to load all 3 of those save forms. Okay, now we do not automatically name them at this point, but you can, the ones that are blue are what you're seeing here, but you can go in and name them. So let's just call this based on the field ID 4-2. SW to WH. Now you could put the client information there, but these 2, as you notice, these 2 were close together. This one's further apart. So if you want to arrange your field boundaries for the job file, this is where you'd arrange them. So if I want to do this to be the first boundary 1 in my job file, I'd move this to the top, and then these 2, this would be second and third. So you can arrange and create your order of your job file boundaries in the job file. Once you have this in place, of course you can do an export to PDF, but what we're going to do is do a batch job or a wireless batch job if you have the wireless capabilities in your SATLOC system. But we're just going to do a batch job file. You just click this, create your job name, save it, and you'll download that job file to your desktop or your computer, and then you can import that into your SATLOC system. So that's how you would create a batch job for the SATLOC system. Again, if you're AgNav, DiaNav, or TrackMap, you would do it through the export shapefile on export forms shapefile on the form manager. You could also save time by just also coming in and saying I'm going to do form manager view plus save form plus the FSA map. And the FSA map is probably what you would need then to take with you into the cab. So you could create a single PDA from this if you wish. You could also do your export to a PDF, or you can email this PDF. Now you notice you can't do a batch job here because we've mixed and matched our forms and maps. So if you want to do a batch job, first bring in your area with GPAs, do what you need with them, print them, or email them, or create your batch job file. Then close down Dossier, and then if you want to create a set of maps, now you could save this as a PDF, and then you could print the PDF. You can do the renaming here if you need to. If you do not want to see color on your FSA maps, what you would need to do is go to your layers, turn those off first before you go to your form manager. I believe that's how that works. Let's make sure. Oops, I should say, I apologize, I don't want that one. We want FSA map here. We could create a paradigm also. You can go in and create a paradigm for just FSA and your aerial application maps. If you want to learn how to do that, you could look up paradigm in our support, or you can also give us a call. We'll help you with that. Nope, it does not clear that out. So what you want to do is set your opacity down to 0 or very low if you don't want to see coloring on your aerial maps and dossier. Now you could save your dossier also. So you can save this, so if you want to come back to it later on and do another print, you can. At this time, we cannot edit a form from dossier. That's something we're looking at, where you could just, so if you had the aerial with GPA in here, you could just click on it and edit it. At this point, you can't do that. And of course, you can do markups here, so you can add, if you need to add something, for example, there's a tower over here that you need to be aware of, or if you want to put some other symbols in, such as windmill, you can mark these up if you need that information on those maps. Of course, we went through things quickly here. It's kind of an overview, just to give you some ideas. Again, the best way to do it is go in and just practice on the system as you get forward. Of course, you can always give us a call. We do have some other webinars coming up for ag retailers and growers that you can just sit in and kind of go over the same things, just looking at different forms. Or you can give us a call. We've been happy to help you get up to speed on this year's situation. Again, that crop protection database will be coming out soon. That's Surety Pro feature, and you'll be getting emails when that becomes available. A newsletter will become available. And if you want more information on that, you can give me a call also, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. Again, if you want a custom form, you can let us know. You can come in. If you're the admin, you can do a form request to get the ball rolling. But you can also give us a call. So if you want some changes done to a form, or if you want the form to show something else, let us know. We'd be happy to work with you on that. Again, if you want the aerial with GPA, that other form I showed you, where you calculate the loads based off your tank volume, if you want to active for your account, let us know. I think eventually that will become a standard form or part of the aerial with GPA form down the line. But at this point, if you want it and you need to get going with that, let us know. We'll add to your account. So with that, I just want to go through support real quick. So under help, we do have support and how-to videos, but our support pages are very useful. I'd have them as your first stop when you're running into an issue. So, for example, you want to learn how to import an AgNav or a DynaNav, for example, or a track map file. I'll just type in, for example, on a DynaNav. Just type in DynaNav search. Give it a little time. It's searching all our documents or anything related to DynaNav. Once it's done, it'll come up, and you can see already uploading, importing files, upload and view as applied logs of Surety, Surety Pro. So you can see you can have an instructional video. You can do step-by-step. Sometimes we have videos embedded in the step-by-step. I'd use that as your first step before if you're having any issues. That support, it's also available on our main website under support. This here, you have to do 2 clicks to get to it. Drawing, for example. Let's take a look at that. As you notice, we also have access to other quick tools here. So drawing, description, how-to video. It goes through the drawing. Got different drawing tools here that you can access and look at. As you see, here's one where we got a video embedded in. You can follow along. So again, I'm emphasis hard, but because I think it's important. It's a good step to go through if you run into any trouble. You can probably find the answer right there very quickly to help you out on that, and maybe even find more information that you maybe didn't realize a tool or a layer or a form could do for you. Then also, I just want to remind you that we have our YouTube channel. Again, that's go to youtube.com, search for AgriData. You'll see our channel has webinars, including this one will be there. We also have training videos, and we got a lot of short, nice to the point videos for you to work with, things of that nature. So take advantage of that. Here's my contact information. Please feel free to contact me with any any questions, concerns, wishes, form request information. If you want the area with GPA, with form, with load information, things of that nature, please give me a call or drop me an email. Be happy to talk with you and help you out. With that, we'll end the webinar today, and be safe out there, and hope you have a good 2018.